Ahoy, citizens of Earth.
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, a nihilophobic podcast exploring the voids and spatial vortices of Star Trek. All of it. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And catching up on my reading is your chief engineer, Greg.
Together we're on a mission through the blackouts of Star Trek to find the mutineer in every Borg and the excellence in every episode.
Even the polluting cargo ships.
Because every episode must be someone's favourite, and it might as well be us.
So replicate some curtains and join us as we ride the shockwave into the Joy of Trek. Oh, I like how that ended.
Oh, yes.
It's sort of like a...
I need to replicate some curtains.
I meant about riding the shockwave. It's sort of like a sports thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no.
Ride the shockwave. We'll sell you the seat, but you'll only need the butt or the, you know.
Go on. Where's that going to go?
No, I think
we'll sell you the seat. You only have to bring the butt. Is that what you were going to say?
Anyway, welcome to the Joy of Trek with your friends Kaki and Kay, who are discussing a fantastic episode of Star Trek.
Yes, it's episode 501 of Voyager, Night. Where the stalwart convoy of ships is traveling through a dark void searching for the planet Cobol.
Okay, no. Sorry, you've lost it again. No, that's Battlestar Galactica.
Oh.
I can't quite tell if you're doing the 1978 version or the reimagined.
They were better for that. The 1978 version did I think they pulled that a little bit better.
It had a more... I don't know, pre-war Hollywood kind of vibe.
Oh, yes, very much so. But I'm specifically talking about the episode. I mean, they did it in the new one as well. The Void, the traveling through the void thing.
Wait, what?
The whole traveling through the void thing. I think that was done better in the original than it was in the remaster, but...
Well, it's not. You mean the remade Battlestar Galactica?
Yes.
I don't remember an episode about traveling through a void.
Oh, then they must have not done it all then. Okay, so
no wonder that they did it better than the original version.
I was going to say I couldn't quite remember it, so I figured I only remember it from the original episode where they are literally traveling through a starless void, trying to find the way to Cobol.
Well, very much the same is happening here on Voyager. Because you want to do an actual synopsis for this episode?
Sure.
Yeah, come on.
The stalwart crew of the Voyager is fighting boredom.
What? No, sorry. I thought you were just going to do it again.
No.
You have an impish streak sometimes, Kay.
Sometimes, yes. So the stalwart crew of the Voyager is fighting off boredom as they are traveling through an endless void of blackness. There is no stars in 2,500 light years, and everything is being blocked by theta radiation, which means they can't see anything. Or as Tuvok puts it, the view hasn't been stellar.
Yes. It's a little astrometrics joke that we really enjoyed.
While everybody is coping with the boredom in their own way, some better than others, the ship comes across another ship somewhere in the void, which seems to be leaking contaminated antimatter.
Yeah.
Yes.
How that works.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be a warp core breach but we're not doing that in this way anymore.
Well, if your antimatter is contaminated, you're not far from a warp core breach on your own, so we don't have to impose one.
I know, right? Yeah. Who turns out to be dumping the thinly veiled metaphor for people dumping radioactive waste in the oceans.
I don't think it's a metaphor. I think it's just straight up saying it with the forehead ridges.
Sure, yes. In hereby dumping this on a unbeknownst of the population. Actually, they probably do know about them because they've got weapons against them.
Yep.
So yeah, they don't care about the natives and they just dump their shit there because it makes more profit, and they're not even Ferengi.
They'd get on well with the Ferengi,
I think so, yes.
These Malon.
The crew make a bold decision to try and block the vortex through which the dumping is being done. In doing so, escape and continue with their journey, shaving off 2 years of travel time.
And kicking off Season 5 of Voyager. What a bold choice it was to start this season off with nothing. Because this aired on October 14th, 1998, and it was written by Brannon, Braga and Joe Menosky and directed by David Livingston. Okay, so I was looking at some of the guest credit. You had like Martin Rayner as Dr. Chaotica.
Ooh, Martin Rayner, okay.
It's the kind of thing that rings a bell, but I couldn't really recognize anything
I thought he had a bit of a Lani Tupu look about him.
But
I guess it's just the goatee helps a lot. And the slicked back hair.
And the sort of skull cap that he wears. But the one that caught my attention was Steve Dennis as the Night Aliens. There are two aliens, but they had the one suit, so they put Steve Dennis in there.
Yeah.
And Stephen Dennis is the only actor to play 5 different characters in a single season of Star Trek.
They just kind of had him lying about, and he was like, oh, is he still around? Yeah, might as well. Hoist him in the next suit.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with Tarek Ergin. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that name. He played a background character, Ensign Ayala, who appeared a few times. Or maybe not even Ensign. Anyway, they also put him in Satan's Robot. But so Stephen Dennis would go on to play 2 more aliens this season and then finally show up as a crew person on the Equinox.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And it was recommended by none other than our own chief engineer.
Oh, yes. Who sent us this recommendation?
So I first recommended this episode before I was actually part of the podcast properly, and I stand by what I said. Night is a great episode because it's the first appearance of Captain Proton, but it's an important one for me because it shows the captain struggling with depression, and it hit me hard when I was dealing with some of the worst of my depressive states, and that episode really kind of resonated with me in a big way, and it sticks with me. It's the episode that I think about a lot when I was stuck inside during COVID lockdowns and we were all kind of like really isolated. It's one that I think about a lot when it's nighttime and less than helpful thoughts start popping to my head. It really just kind of resonates with me because I feel for Janeway here, because I've been there before and I will be there again. And the crew banding together to help her and stand by her, it's a sign that we aren't alone and we need other people's help to get through those feelings of isolation and being alone, to get to the other side where there's lovely clusters of stars and planets at the other end.
Okay.
Well put, Greg.
Thank you very much for that. And yes, the ending is very aptly described here.
Yeah. Oh, this... Chief, thank you so much for your recommendation. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten. I think this was actually the first recommendation that we ever got when I was still just playing with the concept and just asking people, hey...
What you like to listen to us do in Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah, what's a lesser loved episode that maybe isn't very popular but has a lot of meaning to you?
Yeah.
And hey, if you're listening at home and you think, oh, I know one that I'd like to recommend, you can do that at joyoftrek.com/links. And then you'll find the links to the submission form and to our Patreon where you can help us keep the lights on and get some fun GIFs, which is what we call GIFs because we've solved the problem of is it GIF or is it GIF? We'll just ruin it for everyone and call them GIFs.
Yes.
Because I have a feeling that, Kay, you're going to select some doozies.
Oh, there's going to be
there's
going to be some fantastic ones in this batch, absolutely. Yes, so I think in that case...
no warp cores to dump? No,
I don't think so.
Major frustrations that you had?
No, actually, I don't think there was anything that I wanted to dump a warp core for. No?
I'm going to do one. I'm just going to do one little one. Can you push the button for me? Because I don't have my sound effects ready.
Oh, wrong.
Yikes, that's loud.
Wrong one, sorry.
I say we eject the warp core. Some knob got turned.
I think so, too.
Possibly by a certain tri-coloured Felis catus feline who may have just been tippy-toeing over our equipment because you're... Like, some of these knobs are not where they're supposed to be.
I know.
Anyway... Depression isn't fixed in one episode.
Oh, yes.
And I think this is something that Joe Menosky, one of the writers, talked about as well. Like, in hindsight, didn't really love that it was wrapped up so quickly. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of thing, like, as a story, it deserves some time to build. And also, as a real phenomenon, like, depression is a very real thing and takes time to heal and process. And it goes into remission sometimes instead of being healed, and it comes back in various forms.
Yes.
And this, the big red reset button of the Berman era of Star Trek had the effect of kind of sort of downplaying, when you're...
Character development, basically.
Yeah. When you're down in the dumps, you just need to be cheered up, and then you're fine. And unfortunately, that's not how our silly little brains work.
Well, in that regard, I will also then bring up a bit of a review thing which someone brought up, which there's a lot of comparisons being drawn to between this episode and the very first
Caretaker
episode,
yes.
Caretaker.
That's very
and
fair.
The criticism that they had was it's all solved here through a little bit of glib techno babble and some photon torpedoes. It's easy to do the right thing if you don't have to make any sacrifices for it, which is kind of being set up here for, and then it's get built up as another setup for like, oh, well, we have to choose 2 more years of void or save these aliens from being polluted. And then, no, there's an easy technical solution and no...
Yeah, I only partially agree with that because I think they make the statement that what they're choosing is a much riskier path that achieves both.
No, absolutely.
Where they're taking an existential risk. Now, of course, they've been renewed for another full season, so they're definitely not getting blown up.
Yes.
Right? So that doesn't exist, which does take away kind of from the stakes. But it is a statement that they're making. We would much rather choose a higher risk of death for us all than abandoning either our principles or our captain.
Yep. No, very good. So, that having said, shield your ears and...
Okay, I think mine's softer. Let's do mine.
Okay. No, that doesn't make much difference.
Doesn't make much difference. Well,
Okay.
Citizens of Earth, your destiny is in my hands. Those of you who acquiesce to my demands will be treated fairly.
Well, we open to Earth being threatened by Captain Chaotica.
it's Captain Chaotic! Dr. Captain Mr. Chaotica is finally here! Kay, what did you think? Because you've never seen this. You told me that you didn't know what Chaotica was.
No, I did not. I mean, it looks like, Ming the Merciless, played by Lani Tupu.
Okay, yeah, so it's very reminiscent of Flash Gordon, those serials from back in the day. Much more so than the 1980s, I think. Oh, I forget who played the main guy, but definitely Brian Blessed was one of the Hawkmen.
Oh, and Timothy Dalton.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
No.
Well, actually, no, was he in the original? No. Yeah, no, Timothy Dalton.
With who are you having a conversation right now? Because it sounds like you're arguing.
I know that Timothy Dalton is in one of the Flash Gordon movies, but I can't remember which one
There's
now.
more than one?
I don't know, isn't there?
Okay, so you seem to have a...
Is this the Queen? Is this the Queen one?
Yes, this is the one
that's the one with Timothy
music
Dalton
with
in
Queen.
it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's the Timothy Dalton one.
There was a short-lived revival television series in the early 2007s which tried to play with the sort of Flash Gordon concept.
That's the original TV series, isn't there, Flash Gordon?
So Flash Gordon started out as kind of movie serials.
Right.
It was something they were doing at the time where you'd just go to your local Nickelodeon and you'd pay a quarter, and every month there'd be a new 35-minute movie of Flash Gordon that you'd see in some sort of multi-show package. So that was predating television. I mean, it really lent itself for television. It also had a
sounds like a recurring series.
Yeah, kind of.
Flash.
He'll save every one of us, every man, every woman, every child, every dog gets Flash. I don't know how the lyrics go.
Hero of the universe, I believe. But yes, he is threatening Earth, and they have captured Captain Proton's rocket ship, and as well as his secretary and Short Round.
Wow. Yeah, that is kind of it. It is a very sort of leather-jacketed hero-centric story with a lot of...
Yes.
And also, yes... with Felicity Goodboobs.
Wow.
Oh, no. Oh, what's his name? Constance. I don't even know what is the point of her. Do you know that this actor?
I think her point.
I pressed the wrong button.
I think the point of her is to boobily tit around.
Kind of. Kirsten Turner as Constance Goodhart, an actor who's had 2 credits, this and the other time that she played Felicity Goodboobs.
Okay.
And she was completely unknown to the fandom until finally after Voyager wrapped, and there's always a big auction of all the sort of props and costumes, and her costume had her name written in it. And then finally people were...
So she's uncredited then, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Like so many.
And yes, Tom Paris in the role of Captain Proton enters the... Does that mean he's carrying a proton pack? Does that make him a Ghostbuster?
Don't you think it's supposed to be a jetpack?
Of course it is, but if you're called Captain Proton, then...
I like where your brain goes. Kay, let's forget about the rest of this episode and all the depression and the fantastic sort of crew getting together, and let's just talk about the bits with Captain Chaotica in it, because I think we've got a full podcast worth of just... Look at this set design. Look at the camera motion. The bold choice of... Okay, season 5, a season opener. You've.
Oh, do you mean that they're opening in black and white? Yes.
Yeah, with citizens of Earth on this little marble, and you've got Dr. Captain Professor Senor Chaotica, who's looking through what's it called? The submarine thing.
Oh yes, the periscope.
Periscope, that's the one. Quoting I think, throw Mama from the train. Dive, dive, yelled the captain through the thing, and they did dove.
Okay.
Showing that you don't need to know what any of the things on submarines are called in order to write a submarine story. So he's got a periscope and a microphone. And for some reason, he's like looking through the periscope at Earth while he's threatening everyone at Earth to surrender to his might, or you'll be sent
in the mines of Mercury.
Earth needs to surrender, and he's going to use Captain Proton's rocket ship. Fortunately, he is thwarted by the arrival of the Doctor.
So what we're meant to understand is that this ship that he's on is Captain Proton's rocket ship, where he's taken captive Harry Kim, who's a character I don't exactly know, but
Short
round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, a troubling film these days, and Felicity Goodboobs. And Captain Proton jetpacks up through the door with a gun. Oh no, he has a gun! The one thing that we weren't prepared for.
Spaceman First Class, Protector of Earth, Scourge of Intergalactic Evil. At your service.
Well, and he announces like one thing that even Captain Proton cannot defeat, and then
the same to you.
Somewhat characteristically, we have the Doctor arrive and spoils the game because it is his turn on the holodeck. Their time is up.
They've gone over about 3 minutes.
The quarters run out. The shields, the blast doors have come down.
Yeah. The fans in the air hockey table have gone out.
Exactly.
And it's his turn now, and he's in full Technicolor in this black and white world.
Computer, adjust the Doctor's spectral frequency.
I have no interest in your frivolous fantasy.
Also, why does the Doctor need the holodeck to practice his arias?
Yeah.
I mean...
No, that's totally valid. Like, apparently
one, he could do it in sick bay. Yeah, he doesn't need
it can't create an entire environment.
No, but he's a software simulation. They can simulate it. They don't have to, like, physically create it. And
hey, that's my line. The production of Star Trek Voyager is clearly decided to anthropomorphize this sentient software, which is what he is, and forget about the fact that, like, what does software care about reality? It's just another substrate.
Exactly.
Who cares about the input-output? What you care about is the data, and you can sort of skip the whole sensory procedure.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you can just, like, simulate the sensory data, which you're essentially simulating anyway. You're adding an analog layer.
But I guess it's for the same reason that we see the Doctor reading things off panels.
Right, yes, like we were talking about, like when we was updating the medical logs. Why does he doesn't need to sit at a terminal and type this in? You can just, like, update the files directly.
Yep. I guess he's kind of cosplaying. You know, he's sort of Pinocchio. Look at me, I'm a real boy. Yes. I'm doing a business.
So, yes, there's a little bit of bickering about the fact that they've run over their system.
And while the Doctor and Tom Paris are both touching all the buttons on the holodeck, they blow out the grid, which is noticed on the bridge by Commander Chakotay. Another beautiful camera move. There's some really, really great camera work in this episode, Kay, where we see just how empty the bridge is.
Yes, because it's just Chakotay sitting there and Seven walking onto the bridge.
Yep.
Chakotay orders her to give him good news. And this is her first act of insubordination in this episode.
Then I must disobey. I have no good news to report.
Yeah. A character who's known for sort of a creative approach to hierarchy.
I guess she's used to a super flat hierarchy.
Oh, yes, as an XB.
Yeah.
And also to, like, non-existent boundaries of personal space. She stands, like, nipple to nipple with him.
Yes, and which in her case is a lot easier than with most people.
Okay, yeah, so she does have a certain range that she can defend herself with.
Yeah, this is where we learned that
There are no star systems within 2,500 light years.
Nothing?
Nothing.
And we see the view screen, and it's just black.
inky blackness.
Yeah. Deeper black than the rest of the black on the bridge. That's how you can tell it's still a blue screen composite.
Yes.
Well done.
Oh, tangent. Sorry. Something that you'd really like to hear. I saw a video today about how they did blue screen before they did blue screen.
Kaki and Kay describe videos on the
No.
internet.
This is much more technical.
okay.
This is much more technical. So
right.
before they had the technique they used for movies like Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, where they got the overlay of the cartoon and the real thing.
Yeah.
It's really good because like you can see through a veil. There's motion blur. You get none of that green screen effect. And
Yes, where there's a cutout. Because for the listeners at home, green screen and blue screen depend on
digital post-processing.
Yes, it can also be done optically under certain circumstances, but yeah, it usually results in very sharp, artificial-looking lines around the subjects.
Yeah. So what they did here was rather than a green screen, they used basically a sodium screen.
Oh.
It was
sort of ochre-colored?
It was a white screen which was lit by sodium lights.
Okay.
Which produce a very narrow band of light.
Yes.
512 nanometers from the top of my head.
Yeah. As in, like, the sun is a very wide spectrum,
Right.
and then sodium, when it's
extremely
ignited.
narrow spectrum.
Yeah.
So what they did is they took a camera lens, they shot that through a prism, and one side of the prism got shot into a camera which had some sort of divider. So the light coming out of one side of the prism was just the sodium frequency, and the light coming out the other side was everything else. So you created both.
Oh, that's excellent.
So the background was completely gone in the one film, and the other one was a perfect matte.
Yes, because then you also have the slight translucency
Yep.
of
you get perfect
of a
individual
veil.
hairs. You can see everything is absolutely perfect.
And then that can be used as a mat to print over the...
Exactly.
Oh, whoa, okay, this is brilliant.
I'll link you the video because it's going to be... Yeah, I was watching that and I was like, this is right up your alley. Anyway, back to...
Oh, see, okay. Well, this is totally fine because we have been talking about like black and white film, and there's a really, really brilliant special effect in a black and white horror film that we'll hopefully be able to link in this episode, where there's a woman who's then revealed to be a witch or a demon in a sort of morph effect. And the trick there was that the sort of demonic, gnarled makeup was applied to her in red makeup.
Oh, and then they switched the color of the lights and...
So they had a graduated filter in front of the camera that started off red, where you don't notice the red makeup, and then gradually moved it up to where it faded into green.
Oh, very good, yeah.
And so it looked like she suddenly became
Fantastic, yes.
the things that you can do.
Also, the reason why they didn't use that technique in more movies is because they never managed to replicate the prism. Only three were ever made, and nobody has any idea what happened to them or where they are, but they couldn't reliably replicate them. So,
that's incredible.
Yes.
Okay, this is amazing. This is a whole era of filmmaking that... See, we should have just stuck with Professor...
Chaotica.
Imam Chaotica. Rabbi Chaotica. Whatever is his title.
Inshallah.
All right. Night.
It's like being becalmed in the middle of the ocean. If it weren't for sensors, we wouldn't even know we were at warp.
Because we don't hear the hum of the warp and drive? Okay. Also, one thing that, again, it's not a warp core bridge. It might be maybe a little vent.
Yeah, just a little
plasma vent. There's a lot of stuff being vented in this episode. So
I was looking for some sound effect to do that. But
what is it with them being on a 2-year journey? So they're planning to be able to go ahead for 2 years with no resupply, no...
Yes.
No fresh fruit, no other things.
As we learn in the voiceover, as we see the USS Voyager, this was a bit of a challenge for the visual effects teams.
I can imagine.
How do you show a spaceship when there's no external light? And they tried to create this scheme where it looks like Voyager's only being lit by her own
running lights.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic.
It looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't make sense that an exterior light would project onto the interior.
No, because there's nothing to diffuse it away.
Exactly, or reflect it back.
Yeah.
But that's totally okay. Oh, no, okay, I'm going to do it again. I'm going on a tangent about filmmaking techniques from back in the day. Chief, you're going to like this one, I promise. So the sort of running lights on Starfleet ships, right, that project onto their own hull, was first introduced in Star Trek The Motion Picture. You had the new version of the Constitution class Enterprise A, or Enterprise. It was refit and had a different shape and had all these lights projecting onto itself. Now, when you're making a miniature model, that's actually kind of tricky because
of course.
In order to film these, you needed really, really bright lights and very slow cameras and very narrow diameters. So you need to have artificially heightened lights in order to be able to film these things. And so fitting a light, a miniature light inside a model that could project like that onto itself and look diffuse.
And then models would start catching fire because the lights were too hot because it didn't have LEDs back then.
Also that. And so the solution was, we're just going to put a little... No, it's even better. They just didn't paint those parts of the hull as thick, and they put a big old light bulb on the inside. So the ship was made out of transparent like plexiglass, and it was painted over, but it was painted over a lot shallower in the areas where light was supposed to. So it's actually light shining through that we're seeing.
Yes.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yes,
we're never getting to the end of this episode. Okay.
First officer's log, stardate 52081.2. It's been 53 days since we entered this desolate region.
So they're 2 months.
Been
2 months. Okay, I'm hooking into what you were saying. So the shortest path home, which they're still on because it's a 70,000 light year voyage that they've undertaken since Caretaker, and their shortest path takes them through an area that is completely devoid of anything. And we also can't even see the stars on the other side because of
the theta radiation.
Whatever, despite the fact that there is no radiation that includes other radiation, but maybe it blows out their sensors. Who cares? I mean, you could have said, maybe there's dust clouds, like the Coalsack nebulas.
I guess. Yeah,
that would block it.
Maybe.
But so...
It wouldn't be this extreme, but yeah.
No, they've now embarked on a 2-year journey where they're not going to encounter anything. So, no resupply, no fresh fruit. All the departments have energy reserves that they've already stockpiled. They must have done the calculations on their...
Yes. I'm figuring that they've got enough dilithium to make it through.
Yeah. There might still be antimatter that they're scooping up with their Bizarre collectors.
Oh, yes.
So, apparently they can keep going. And also, they don't expect to have to do anything, so... The rate of breakage is going to...
Well, why would the rate of breakage go down? It's
going to be lower.
Yeah, okay. If you're not getting shot at, then yes, of course. But, Balana is whining.
Warp core's at peak efficiency, just like last week and the week before that. And my engineering staff is going stir crazy.
What? They're like the engineers. Don't they have little pet projects they can work on to optimize the difflux indicators on the on the suppression manifold of the counter warp flow?
Whoa! Look at you go. Okay, I'm going to see if I can challenge you to recite the turbo encabulator. A bit of technobabble. I can do it. I've done it once, but I've also recited the Eye of Argon without laughing.
Okay, very good.
So you have a high bar to reach.
Kim gets like, what about you? Nothing. Can you elaborate?
Is it nada?
Yeah.
Because they've had these briefings, and they've all been the exact same.
Yep.
It's sort of like a much lower stakes version of the Battlestar Galactica's first proper episode of the rebooted series 33.
Well, there was a lot going on in that. It's like absolutely nothing like this. Here, these guys are bored out of their gourd.
No, where you had a briefing that they've had 200 times and they're still going through the motions. Like Chakotay insists.
Humor me.
Next piece of business. Crew morale. Deteriorating, obviously.
Yep.
Love Neelix there. I'm not a big Neelix fan, but he's pretty good in this episode, despite the only thing that he mostly does is having panic attacks. But I think he does those very well. It's like,
and I mean, considering that he has actually been dead and to the void of the beyond where there is no afterlife as he expected in a previous episode, maybe that was a bit triggering for him.
Oh, yes.
He does have some suggestions.
Rotate crew assignments. Add variety to the daily routine. I myself wouldn't mind squeezing in a little tactical training.
I mean,
as a part of, he suggests crew rotation.
He really just wants his hands on the guns.
Oh, I mean, yes.
I mean,
probably, actually.
Don't they already have that? Because they have the problem that they really can't promote people. And I thought they were like doing that kind of thing. It's like, swapping people around for different departments, like getting them trained up more broadly.
You'd think, but they also have a huge shortage of trained expertise, and everybody has to be really good at what they do in order to keep this ship running.
But they've got 2 years of nothing to do. It's like the
that's
perfect
why it's being
time.
suggested now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, turn Cargo Bay 2 into a third holodeck.
Here, says the doctor.
Yes.
And Neelix has a third point relating to crew morale.
Yes.
Well, it's the captain. She's been a bit elusive lately.
What's her point?
People take comfort in talking to her.
And like Chakotay, he's being an excellent manager throughout this whole meeting. He's trying to keep everyone on target. He's pointing out their unprofessionalism, but not pushing anybody on it.
Yeah.
He's letting quite a lot of...
well, I wouldn't call it unprofessionalism. There's genuine concern. I mean,
in general.
Oh, right.
Everybody's responses, he's being very careful with those. But here, he shuts this down immediately. Like,
it's her choice. She can run this ship from wherever the hell she wants to. Understood?
Yeah.
And
True.
expecting everyone to accept that, even though, like, B'Elanna very much goes, yeah, sure.
Well, she's like, spares the protocol. There's something's up. You're technically correct, but that doesn't mean there isn't any reason for concern.
And he pinches the bridge of his nose, and he says, "We're all feeling the pressure, including me."
But yes, why don't we just see it as a 2-year vacation, says Kim.
Says Harry, giving everybody
Dismissed.
someone new to fire their photon torpedoes at.
It's a great idea, Harry.
Wow, Harry, you're a real genius. How do you come up with these brilliant ideas?
You're such an optimistic guy.
Neelix goes and have himself some bergamot tea.
You caught that, did you?
Well, of course I do. I'm the tea nerd here.
Yes, you are. Well, for the listeners at home, perhaps you can clue them in.
Right. Bergamot is a small hard citrus fruit, which primary use is as a flavorant in Earl Grey tea. So essentially what Neelix asked for is tea Earl Grey hot. Although I don't think it's quite as green as the stuff that he gets in his cup.
Oh, he just likes it a certain way. He sort of... He puts his own spin on lots of recipes based on whatever he happens to have in hand. This is a beautiful shot, by the way. We start in complete darkness. Actually, two amazing continuing tracking shots. One from Chakotay, who has survived another briefing. And he walks straight onto the bridge, and the camera walks ahead of him.
And I like that. Yeah, the little short stairway up from observation. So that's the lounge, not observation.
Yeah,
it's called observation on the
it's the observation lounge on the Enterprise. I think here it's just the senior officers of the briefing room with the craps table. It kind of looks like.
It does look a bit like a craps table, yes.
And then a push in on the empty view screen into darkness, which is illuminated because now we're in Neelix's room, and now we follow him around with this non-stabilized camera.
Computer lights maximum level.
And walking through his quarters, gets himself some tea.
Looks out at the nothingness.
First thing in the morning, I replicate some curtains.
Why haven't you done that already? He's such a homebody.
I guess. I mean...
No, I can definitely understand on this one because I've been there too, where I know something needs to be fixed in my room, and I just don't do it until I finally just reach a breaking point of just like, all right, nope. I have to do it right now because I just can't stand this anymore. So I get Neelix here.
Cut to 10 forward, where Paris and B'Elanna are playing a game.
Dorada.
Or
Dorada or Turota. It's a game of subtlety, which you recognize to my very great delight.
I do actually recognize it. It's not a... they actually use the right board as well. It's a shapes game. Like there's towers, you've got low towers and tall towers and short towers, square towers and round towers, hollow towers and solid towers, and in 2 different colors. Right. And each piece is unique, but it shares all of those characteristics. So there's 16 in total, and it's basically you're playing 4 in a row, connect 4.
Yeah, of a particular theme.
Exactly. The one who manages to place the last piece in 4 in a row, which has 4 aspects. Or I think all different aspects is also allowed.
Yeah, there's another version. I mean, I only knew this because I read about it in the trivia. The game is called Quarto. It was invented by a Swiss mathematician, and it won a bunch of awards. Because one of the really brilliant sort of rules is you pick my pieces and I pick your pieces.
That's it. Yeah.
We have a shared pool, but I decide which piece you get to place.
Right, yes, that's it. Yes, I forgot about that part.
Which makes it, I really want to play this game, Kay. I'm so curious about like the kind of strategies that there are.
Yeah.
Apparently not that many because Tom always plays the Novakovic gambit.
It sounds like they're like making it sound much more interesting and complicated than the game actually is. But
I mean, in chess, these gambits, they're not particularly complicated moves.
No.
They just have the property of like distilling this huge probability tree into a somewhat controllable, narrower field.
Well, yes, but that's because chess has different pieces with different abilities and different functions. And in this, although every piece is unique, they all do the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's far fewer possibilities, certainly when you have... when you have control over selection or placement.
Also that, but yeah, it's like, there's no real tactics. Like you can't really play a particular gambit because technically each piece is interchangeable. It doesn't matter which piece is the first piece you play.
No,
Yeah.
that's true.
So that's... anyway.
But I guess maybe it's sort of like, I mean, in Scrabble, one of the aspects of the strategy is like the influence that you have over the number of pieces that are still available.
Yes.
Right? You can take an action which reduces the number of pieces that the other person, or, reduces the number of choices that the other person can take. Anyway, we're being a lot more sporting than B'Elanna and Harry are.
It turns into a bicker almost immediately.
You don't want to start a fight with me right now, not at 3 a.m.
3 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. What's the difference? You're angry 24 hours a day.
Tom is being just straight up racist.
Oh, yes.
About the Klingon paint sticks.
Speciesist, I guess.
I think racist is the term. I know what you're getting at, but like speciesist versus racist, well, race actually doesn't really exist, but we have the term.
Right.
There is no concrete definition of what a race is that holds up to scientific scrutiny. Poor Neelix. He tries to placate them. He tries to bring them along.
Another game, maybe a snack.
Stop! You are senior officers. You're supposed to be setting an example for the rest of the crew.
And then he promptly dies. And that's the end of Neelix.
Yes, he does.
Regrettably, we never see him again. I don't know why he got billing for the whole season.
He does a Mookie.
Oh no! Oh no! Referencing poor Ishka.
That's right.
From an episode of DS9 that we recently watched. Chief, which one was that again?
That would be season 6, episode 23, Profit and Lace.
Why couldn't I remember that?
Oh yeah.
I'm so ashamed. No, he's fine, of course, and has a very unsympathetic doctor.
The doctor is a bit brusque.
Dizziness, nausea, unspeakable dread.
Yes.
Nilophobia, the fear of nothingness. Or in layman's terms, the fear of nothingness.
I love his expression. It's like it's almost like he tells like, okay, that subroutine loops back on itself. It's like it's that kind of look that he gives there. I choose to see that as an introspective, like oh wait, there was like a little subroutine loop there that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, let's note
He
it.
must be breaking down as well, just like everyone. Everyone, it's almost like we're watching an episode of Enterprise. For some reason, the only episodes we've watched is where everyone is like acting out of character or unconscious.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So far, but he must also be feeling this strain. And he deals with a mental health issue very poorly by giving someone a mild sedative and telling them, you'll get used to it.
I mean, he is a trauma surgeon. He
has 5 years of experience as a GP at this point.
He's not a counselor. He's a trauma surgeon. That's...
No, okay, yes, but no, even there. You have trauma treatment protocols which involve patient management and dealing with anxiety, and there are certain things that you don't tell someone who's...
No, you never tell them that it'll be all right. You'll tell them, I'll do what I can.
Yes.
But you don't tell them it'll be all right. That's...
But you give them all the confidence that they'll be able to pull through. But you also don't downplay something as serious as a phobia, which is by definition irrational.
Yeah.
If you're irrational, then you wouldn't be afraid of, name it, whatever. Of course. And all you have to do to get over it is just think about it rationally.
Yeah.
No, it's irrational.
That's the whole point, yeah.
It sort of sneaks past
brain loops. Tuvok is dealing with his issues in his own way. He is sitting in astrophysics and astrometrics, yes. Set gets a lot of mileage this episode. For some reason, later on they're also there, and it makes no real sense, but yeah.
I know. It's just a very popular set. It's a lovely little set.
Normally this is Seven's domain, but Tuvok is being a cat and sitting on her keyboard.
Oh, yes. She asks him if she's disturbing him, and he just immediately, he does that thing where cats sort of get up from their position and like turn their tail and like turn on the spot with all 4 paws and pretend that they were doing something other than they were doing.
Yes.
Is the astrometrics lab designated for recreational use?
I come here to meditate. Needless to say, the view from my quarters has been less than stellar lately.
They're the only ones who have an interaction that's actually sort of okay.
Yes. I mean,
because she asks him, like, what are the stars for? And, well, he explains it to her. He thinks that every star is a thought, and that helps him to practice. And is it rejuvenating? Yes, it is. Oh, you should try Borg regeneration.
It's better.
All I need is just a quick trepanation and an insertion of some cortical node. And
trepanation. Painful but effective.
Another time, perhaps.
They seem to be the two who are least affected by it, which kind of makes sense.
Best managing, I imagine. It's a shame that they don't have Briano on board because he'd be able to deal with it, because he withstood 7 years of tedium of standing still in a transporter room on the Enterprise.
He would find things to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he would be planing the pylons for the warp nacelles or something.
Or he'd be sabotaging the ship just to give himself something to do.
Making little starships in a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
But, yes, sensors detect something about 25 light years out, much more theta radiation.
Oh, what is this time? So they have something to investigate while Chakotay.
It's a fantastically filmed scene. Chakotay is kind of like, whenever we see a shot of Janeway, it's Chakotay in the foreground in darkness, and Janeway further in the back. We really only see her silhouette in front of the light. Yeah. And when it's a shot of Chakotay, it's like he's being lit through, I guess, from one of the panels, because it's not coming in through the window.
No, certainly not. And he's got a strategy.
I've been saving up my holodeck rations, and I've got 3 full hours coming. Any chance I might persuade you to join me for a few rounds of velocity?
This is a really clever solution. This would have been a very good solution for someone who's dealing with depression. You offer them, hey, I want to give you some stimulus.
Yeah.
It's going to be one-on-one. You know, it's not going to involve anybody else. It's going to be you and me. It's going to be physical, not mental. Like, all of that is really, really great.
I've literally done that, like, with a guy I knew in college, back in university. It's like, basically, we decided to go to the gym together, and it's like, he was suffering from depression, and occasionally I just show up, and it's like, we're supposed to go to the gym. Hi, I'm here.
Yeah.
You're now getting your stuff, and we're going to the gym, and like, I'm still in bed, and, that's the only thing you can do. Sometimes it's just like, get them out there, get them on the bike, get them to the gym, get them some exercise, and...
Yeah, because it's not a fix.
No,
it doesn't. It's not a instant solution. But it is a thing that you can do. Yeah,
it helps.
It's good for your body, and your body affects your brain.
Gets you out of the bed.
Yeah, that as well. And it's a good way to practice with some interaction, which someone with depression may be intimidated by.
yes.
So he's being very, very sensitive. But she immediately shoots him down.
And what if I told you I'm not leaving until you join me?
I'd say have a seat. It'll be a while.
Which goes him like, okay, well, I tried being a friend, and I'm going to be a first officer.
Yeah.
And it's like...
He's so good. You picked a really bad time.
Yeah.
Because the crew needs you.
Would you be satisfied with... I'm just catching up on some reading?
In this scene, which is brilliant, because she's talking about, hey, how did we get stuck in here? Remind me.
Yes.
You know, she's acting out against him, like everybody's acting out against each other. And she's doing it to show to him, hey, what I'm going through, what I'm doing is not irrational.
Yeah.
This is a fully rational response to my guilt.
Because, she asked her, like, what happened, and he describes it in the passive voice.
The third person.
Third person, yes. And she goes like, no, I made that call.
Sorry,
no,
the
passive
first
voice,
person
Mistakes
plural.
were made.
No,
mistakes
we
were
did
made.
it. First person plural. That's the one. I remember my persons. We did it. And he goes, no.
I made that call, yes.
I made an error in judgment, Chakotay. It was short-sighted and it was selfish. And now all of us are paying for my mistake.
Don't know. Selfish? I don't see why it was a selfish thing. It's very much in line with what Star Trek officers would be expected to do.
So I think what she's saying is that she placed her ideals before the human desires of...
the crew.
Yes, what they wanted. Because it's something that you don't see very often in Star Trek. You know, everyone who's in Starfleet is a full believer and really cares about the principles and holds those very dear, which I can imagine being the case. It's very
there's
inspiring.
what's her face in Lower Decks.
Gotta be more specific. You talking about Peanut Hamper?
No, the main character.
Mariner,
yes.
She really does believe in the principles of Starfleet.
I suppose she does, yeah.
Yeah. Also, something that we get into more in the later seasons, which is being hinted at, and I hope we see a bit more of, she's a war veteran.
No.
Right? She's a Dominion War veteran. As a junior officer, that was a really shitty time to start your career.
Yeah, I suppose
anyway,
so. I mean, that's a good thing. We can talk about all of Star Trek in our podcast. Because
yes,
we literally do all of Star Trek. Hey. Come join us. Listen us to on joyofttrek.com.
Debbie does everyone.
No.
Cocky, no. What am I supposed to do with that edit? I'm just leaving that in. Cocky, no.
This scene is brilliant. But I understand why Joe Menosky, who co-wrote this with Brannon Braga, was sort of miffed about the episode later in retrospect. I wish this had been more earned. I wish we'd had like, and I don't know how
more of a build up to it. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's difficult.
It would have been incredibly difficult, but imagine if it had been achieved, and then to get a scene that's this good, where you have the captain more withdrawn, and it would have required at least one episode, maybe even two.
Probably that, yeah.
In order to earn this, and then to earn your way back. I love her look, by the way. She's only got the undershirt. She's got the short sleeves on.
We see that look a lot in this episode, because like we later see Chakotay in just his jammies in...
oh, yeah. Still with the badge on, though.
Yeah, same with her.
And she dismisses him.
Yeah, if the crew asks for me, tell the captain sends her regards.
And she's actually pretty mean to him.
So if you don't mind, Commander, I'll pass on that little game.
Oh, that's so dismissive.
Yep. Cut to clarinet music.
Yeah.
Kim is on bridge duty, and he is just like sitting in the captain's chair, and he's just tooting his own horn, clarinet.
Hey, when the office is empty, I was
going to say, is this a metaphor?
He's got his legs kicked up.
Well, I like how like he immediately straightens out and like, oh shit, like, you know, caught tooting on the job, and like Tuvok is really is super cool about it. It's like, relax and say anything to report. Nope, not even a stray electron.
Tuvok is handling this so well because he totally gets it. He doesn't overreact. He assumes that Harry is only doing this because there's nothing going on. Yes. And of course, in this circumstance, it doesn't make sense especially for a human, a neurotypical human, I should say, to be standing at their station, you know.
And being, he's kind of he's got a low-key eye on everything. He's probably got some alert chimes set up. You can hear that, you know. It's like he's probably got them all turned up, so whenever something beeps out of order, he'll hear it over his own clarinet playing. And it's perfectly understandable.
Because neurotypical humans don't do well in like zero stimulus environments.
Yeah.
Like for those of us on that side of the
everything becomes
spectrum,
completely repetitive. Everything is always the same. Then it becomes really difficult to spot something different.
Yes, because our brains sort of readjust.
It's a thing when you're driving home and you from work and you don't remember anything from the drive, and you've merged and you've like gone through traffic lights and you were like, was I not paying attention? No, you were paying perfect attention. It's just that your brain chose
time for a tangent.
Chose not to remember. Like, we haven't had any tangents yet this episode. Like,
I've just read the brilliant and sort of existentially dreadful science fiction novel Blindside by Peter Watts, a really intense, hard sci-fi novel, and it posits that when we do this, exactly what you're describing, like driving somewhere, actually operating a machine or a bicycle and arriving somewhere and then having no memory how we got there, posits that was done without sentience, without awareness of it, that your body was on autopilot.
Right.
Or did we just not store those memories? Discuss.
That's how I've always had it described. It's basically the brain, it's like, it's a familiar route, and nothing out of the ordinary happens. So your brain just does not bother storing the information.
That's what I feel well.
Yeah, it's just like, nothing. Like, we know this route. You can dream this route. You've driven it 100 times. There were no car crashes. There were no sudden light changes. Nobody cut you off. Because you remember that if someone cut you off. But just because nothing...
I remember a car crash, Kay.
I know that too. But
you were going through that list and it was like, whoa. Like, a car crash cut you off, and like, hey, cutting off, we all know. That's a thing that you remember. So, whoa.
Anyway, but that's the thing. It's like nothing out of the ordinary happens, and therefore no interesting information, don't bother filing it.
Yep. And there are other configurations of the brain. I've heard people like Temple Grandin, people on the autistic spectrum, and various other parts of the neurodiverse spectrum speaking about like their experience with cognition and memory. Like Temple Grandin, she spoke about autism as an autistic person, as a person with autism, how like when she thinks of a shoe, she sees all the shoes that she has ever seen. And that's just a perfectly normal way for her brain to function for her that she's accustomed to, something that we can't do.
Also displaying not entirely neurotypical behavior is Paris, who is apparently so hard on for his holodeck fix that he has decided to not even bring Harry, and instead has drawn 7 into the holodeck to finish his little show.
I guess he's trying to like maybe make a new friend.
Okay.
Is that possible?
I don't know.
Because Harry Kim is up on the bridge, like regaling Tuvok with a concerto that he's been writing, which is how he's been spending his time, which Tuvok is actually interested in.
I mean, yes, I can see that from a Vulcan viewpoint, yes.
Yeah. Because he doesn't have anything better to do either. You know, that's why he came up there and relax.
Yeah.
I didn't come here for anything. I don't have anything to do.
I was bored, you know. It's like,
what you doing? And I guess that's how he bumped into Seven. She also didn't have anything to do. Hey, do you want to go do this? Okay,
sure,
well,
why
I have
not?
no reason to say no.
So, yes, he explains a little bit of the story, the plot line, and that there's this big robot that needs to be defeated as soon as they start the sequence. And he saves the planet while she fends off the robot.
Yes, so you are Felicity Goodboobs.
Yes.
And you just keep it busy while I save the...
Yes.
She has a name, but it's basically...
I know. I think it's great. Yes. Anyway...
Oh no! Tiffany Love Boobs. That's the one that I came up with for our other podcast. Well, Felicity is fine as well.
But yes,
and she's brutally efficient.
Oh yeah, she just opens the panel and pulls out a bunch of wires, and that shuts down the robot just fine. And Tom whines a little bit, like, "Oh, you're not doing it right. You have to play along."
I think it's really interesting because she's backing away until Satan's robot says,
"Citizen of Earth, surrender. Do not resist."
I am Borg.
And she resists.
Oh, God, I completely missed that. No, yeah, fantastic.
The robot has been neutralized. May I leave now?
Very good.
And then Harry Kim's concerto is interrupted by a sudden power fluctuation. Yep. And then, what's happening? Oh, there's power failures.
We're dropped out of warp, and the entire ship goes dark.
There's lots of shots here of lights going off and people being sort of chased down hallways by darkness as the lights go off. And there's one where the Doctor is in his office and the lights go off. Or does the Doctor go off?
I know, right? Well,
you don't hear the sound. But
I know, and we learned that the individual subroutines are also fine.
Yeah, subsystems
we're watching this episode, and it was like, okay, so Tom Paris manages to get a torch. It takes him a while to figure it out because apparently old-fashioned torches are very different from the light things that they have on the board Voyager.
Yeah,
and you can see that they're still on the holodeck, and the holodeck is still doing the program.
Yeah, they're still in Captain Proton's war rocket, Ajox.
But then, if the holodeck is still functioning because the individual subroutines are still working, why is it dark?
Oh, because the lights are also off.
No,
you're completely right. Why are the lights off if the walls are on?
Exactly.
I mean, Star Trek has a long history of not being able to decide whether holodecks have independent power, because we saw that in Fairhaven.
No, I get that, yeah.
You know, there suddenly you are able to draw the power from the holodecks.
And they're clearly saying here that, it's literally mentioned that, the individual life support is fine. Thank God for that. That's a nice system.
I don't understand.
Gravity's also still working, which is also really good.
Gravity might not be an active system. It might be a passive system.
Yeah, because you've got gravity nets for that, or whatever they call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Gravity mattresses.
Once you set it up, but
gravity carpet.
Ew. Yeah. Okay. No, that's a nice one.
What would happen if you put gravity carpet on all 4 or 6 walls of a room?
Yeah. Okay. Well, then you'd be able. I mean, that's probably. That's probably Tom Paris's quarters you're describing there. Hey!
It's the shag gravity carpet.
Oh, Austin Powers in space. Yeah, why did the lights go off in the war rocket?
I know, right?
Jockstrap or whatever
it makes no sense.
It's cool though. It's cool to see this ship, especially engineering, where everybody's got their own flashlights.
Oh, yes.
And they're all doing stuff with their flashlights.
I'm glad the magnetic containment field of the warp core shut down safely.
I imagine that's the kind of thing that has a fail-secure...
I mean, for that speaking, I hope that the magnetic bottles containing the antimatter are also self-contained and don't get and not affected by this power shutdown thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why do you need life support to be active all the time?
Oh, you don't, but that's a classic thing in Star Trek, which are oh no, life support is shut down. We've got this whole huge ship. There's at least for 6 to 8 hours of oxygen for all the people on board the ship.
How big the hallways are and how few people there are for all the spaces. There's probably a week of air.
Yeah. Well,
and you're not going to...
Yeah, no, I agree.
Plus all the spacesuits, plus all the emergency bottles. You've got oxygen candles.
Yes. We've talked about this many times before on this podcast.
And you're not going to freeze, because that's not how space works.
No, you're more likely to overheat, because
exactly.
The ship produces heat, and it's not going in.
Not if it's off. Then it's just the people inside.
Fair, yeah.
Producing heat, and not a lot compared to all of these engines.
No.
So you'll probably be fine for ages before life support is a problem.
I mean, carbon monoxide buildup is going to be the biggest problem. But again, you've got...
Dioxide, but yes.
Dioxide. But you've got lithium canisters for that.
Do we have those?
I mean, that's what they used on the Apollo.
Should we have those as sort of citizens? Is that something to worry about? I mean, we say this from like an area of the Netherlands that is so far below sea level that everybody jokes about having an inflatable
raft,
dinghy up in the attic.
I mean, if I were on a spaceship, I would like to have some emergency lithium canisters, and oxygen candles.
It's the kind of thing you just put it in a storage closet. It's fine.
Exactly. Doesn't take up a lot of space. Gives you a few extra hours. Anyway.
Chakotay hears some suspicious breathing that he goes to investigate.
But it's Neelix having another panic attack.
And Chakotay treats him very well.
He does.
There's been a power loss. Nothing to worry about.
Who's worried?
Come on.
Because even Neelix, he's sort of denying it and like, oh, just don't mind me because there are more important things. And Chakotay goes, no. This can be a life-threatening thing that you're going through. And the thing that you need is for someone to help you and reassure you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do.
Tom Paris, in the meantime, is trying to open one of the hatches rather than computer end program.
Yeah, because the computer's still listening. That's exactly what happens.
And as he is making his way around the holodeck, he is suddenly jumped by a alien.
Computer disengage safety protocols.
Stephen Dennis in his first of 5 roles this season.
Again, very cool.
Night
it's
Alien number 1.
Paris and Seven are still on...
they're still in black and white,
They're still in black and white, but the alien isn't.
It jumps at Paris, and Seven very quickly yells at the computer to turn off the safety protocols.
And fires the ray gun.
Yeah. I understand that turn off the safety protocols, but does it suddenly make everything lethal? Yes, in First Contact we see that.
A ray gun, which is meant to be lethal,
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it does make everything lethal. I mean, like, a loaf of bread isn't going to be more lethal than it was.
But
the bread knife might be able... Now you can actually stab someone with it, rather than... I don't know.
If you were making a ray gun, what ray would it gun?
Oh, geesh. Maybe a maser?
Do you know? That's what the phasers were originally going to be in the very first pilot episode of Star Trek The Cage. They bring these masers down to very good, because that's like microwave radiation, right? Essentially, on the electromagnetic spectrum, so somewhere beyond light, but before radio, or is it after radio?
It's at radio, because like microwaves are at 4.2 gigahertz, I think, which is what Wi-Fi works on.
Oh, yes.
Microwaves work on exactly the same frequency as Wi-Fi, before we went to 5G Wi-Fi or whatever it's called.
Fascinating. Yes. And it just happens to be, that particular frequency happens to interact with water.
Yes. Which is why Wi-Fi, old Wi-Fi doesn't work very well in humid environments. Because the water in the air absorbs the radiation.
Yikes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Science,
bitch.
So Neelix and Chakotay also encounter one of these creatures, but before they can be attacked by it, it is phasered in the bum.
By Janeway to the rescue. She's got one of the big phaser rifles, and she is not having any of it.
Follow me.
She's grabbed one of the 14 weapons lockers. No, wait, wrong ship.
That's Enterprise. Yeah. And she takes them along, and she knows exactly what to do, because by the time that she arrives in engineering and everyone's running back and forth, she's brought one of the emergency power backups that everybody
the one we saw earlier in the episode, and they use that to jumpstart the system. They managed to get sensors back online, and we see these really cool ships.
Yeah!
When they launch basically a photon torpedo set to candle, I think.
I'm reconfiguring the torpedo to emit a sustained polyluminous burst.
A warp flare.
Precisely.
This is the episode where the most photon torpedoes are fired by Voyager, and where they exceed the stated 38 irreplaceable photon torpedoes
that
by
they have
2.
At the beginning. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So this is where a total of 13 are fired, of which is just too many.
Yeah.
So Tuvok's photon torpedo, which is just essentially a warp flare, illuminates these hidden spaceships. And Mitch Suskind has talked about, we don't get to make wild designs like this very often. And they're amazing. They're these vertically oriented ships. They have a donut hole in them. They've got all these lights.
The cool green light effect things.
And now we've got like a distributed command center because you've got Harry Kim and Tuvok on the bridge, and you've got Chakotay and Janeway in engineering. She puts down her phaser.
Yeah, this is where you can see Chakotay in his skivvies.
Yeah. He's also in his undershirt, and Janeway's jacket is open. She puts her rifle down, and they're now operating one of the consoles in engineering, which must have been like rerouted from the bridge because she's got operational awareness.
We've seen that many times in Next Generation.
Exactly.
You can pretty much route any command station anywhere in the ship whenever there's a panel.
Yep. A brilliant innovation for the Next Generation by Mike and Denise Okuda, now finally like really being implemented. And so this distributed bridge engages in, let's call it diplomacy with these...
Gunboat diplomacy, because they do a little bit. They fire a few warning shots, they get shot back at.
He was attacked by an intruder.
These burns are severe.
I disabled the alien. It may still be alive.
Bring it to sickbay.
Just as the aliens restart their dampening field or whatever it is that they're using to shut down the power systems of Voyager, another ship appears.
Boom, 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 blasting all these really cool fireworks.
Yeah, I love those little cannons.
I mean, it's also, at the same time, kind of gross and very wasteful.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's this beautiful design that's so spectacular to see, especially since we've been so starved of anything to see outside the window. Having fucking fireworks going off is amazing.
Reminded me a little bit of the fireworks we see on Getty Prime in...
Dune Part 2.
Yes.
That was amazing.
It was. Oh, fantastic shots, those.
And a person introduces himself on the view screen.
I'm Lieutenant Commander Tuvok of the Federation.
I had to fire 13 spatial charges to drive those ships off. I expect to be compensated.
This very large, capable ship that has just chased off these attackers, and he's dressed in...
a spacesuit, basically, environmental suit, I think he calls it.
Yep. The environment that he's in is all steamy and gross and oily and lit
he
from below.
expects to be compensated for the 13 spatial charges that he had to fire off to drive off these aliens.
Tuvok looks at Harry and says, of course.
We can work with that. Yeah. He beams aboard. In order to save on sets, they decide to talk to him on this, on the transporter pad. Also because his suit is a little bit leaky.
Yeah, I mean... We see him, like, he talks to Tuvok from the bridge of his ship. Like, that set had to be built just for that, like,
and
view screen.
And it never gets used again, yeah. Well, later on, but,
yeah,
we never actually see him on there.
I thought Emk, which is the Malon commander, was fascinating.
Yes.
Because he's sympathetic, but he's also very selfish, and he has all these boundaries. And, like, the way that Janeway deals with him is also very, very intelligent. Like trying to create opportunities, setting some boundaries, but accepting when they're crossed and then setting consequences from them. Like, it's so strategic.
Oh, yes. She's immediately, you see her eyes light up when she hears about the fact that, like, okay, this anomaly, spatial thing can
spatial vortex
can take us out of here and it'll save us 2 years. You don't know which side of the void that thing ends up. It could be 90 degrees to the bottom, 90 degrees, like, the odds that it's exactly in the direction that you're going. You're 60 days in.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you're
I mean, it's understandable.
If he says that it's going to be to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 60 days in of 2 years journey. So, yes, I can imagine that he says, like, it's pretty
still
far
on the
away.
outer edge.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. It's a lot of conclusion jumping, but yeah.
Hey, they wanted to get this done in one episode.
Fair. So, there's a little bit of negotiation, which breaks down.
Enough questions. Give me the creature and I'll take you to the vortex.
Well, my apologies, Mr. M, but I'd like to know what's going on here. Are you at war with these beings?
None of your concern.
And Janeway's like, no.
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
Well, then you have an ultimatum there. My ship will depart in 2 hours. Cooperate or stay behind.
Yeah, bye.
And he says, I'm done here.
Yeah, I have spoken.
And Janeway lets him go.
Yep. And immediately looks at Tuvok and goes like, all right, time to hear the other side of the story.
Fortunately, the Universal Translator works.
It does. On this alien, which looks a bit like a Ferrero Rocher with eyes. Also, which is, why does an alien that's involved in complete darkness have eyes?
Because they lived there for millions of years. It's completely adapted to the dark. Why do they have eyes? You don't need eyes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it happens to be advantageous in our particular atmosphere, and because water happens to be transparent to the light that happens to come from our sun. But you don't need that. Oh, I'm reminded of... I haven't actually read it, but Project Hail Mary, a book by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, which may or may not be becoming a film with Ryan Gosling, involves aliens who didn't know that there was space because they didn't really have eyes.
Oh, yes.
So they never, they became incredibly technologically advanced before developing a space program because they never could do what we have done, look up and wonder what's up there and see if we can go there.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, good point.
And she speaks to this creature who says,
"Their ships are poison.
The theta radiation.
They're killing us.
Why? What do they want from you?
Nothing."
And it turns out that these kind of like vents with green gas coming out of them, it turns out to be contaminated antimatter. So how does the moment you throw out the contaminated antimatter and it touches your ship, it doesn't blow the whole shit up into Kingdom Come? There's all this antimatter floating, contaminated antimatter even floating around.
Yeah. Emitting radiation that's very harmful to them because this creature is
but antimatter.
Ill.
Any regular matter it touches gets destroyed, annihilated.
Oh, yeah. But there's plenty of... there's supposedly plenty of antimatter just floating around, just not doing that most of the time, but...
6 megatons per day or whatever it is they call it.
If you don't touch it, it's fine.
But that's the whole point. You're pushing it, you're throwing it out of the ship and it's going to go flying around and any other ship that comes nearby.
It's going to clump together and it's going to...
Is it?
Things in space clump together.
So you get clouds of antimatter. This is not better.
Well, because the problem is that they're emitting theta radiation. I don't think the problem is that there is antimatter there because nobody seems to be worrying about that.
It should be. Also, there's later when they're in engineering, it turns out more of be a byproduct of antimatter production, use, whatever.
Reactant?
I don't know. It's weird. It makes no sense. Anyway.
Pollution, they got sludge and sewage and mud. Turn on the tap, you get hot and cold running crud. No, Tom Lehrer,
by
pollution.
your powers combined.
Oh, come
I have
on.
no idea. No, I'm not.
When you go to American City, you may find it very pretty. Just 2 things of which you must beware. Don't drink the water and don't breathe the air. Pollution.
I remember the first time I was in Los Angeles and opening a tap and getting a glass of water and it smells like a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah. When I visited Ukraine and just sort of sandy water came out because construction was being done. Because Ukraine is a country where the taps are not rated for drinking water, which is something that we didn't know.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between not rated and not suitable for. But
now we get what I think is actually the most interesting scene that Voyager has had in a while. It's a conversation between Chakotay and Tuvok.
Look, I realize we're not exactly best friends. From day one, we've kept each other at arm's length. But I've always respected your judgment. And right now I could use a little Vulcan clarity.
Because they first met when Tuvok was a Starfleet security agent infiltrating his Maquis cell and betraying him in front, that...
And also Janeway's first officer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Janeway, in her attempt to blend the 2 crews, decided to put Chakotay as their first officer and essentially demote Tuvok.
So, complicated relationship that hasn't had a lot of attention. And Chakotay says to him,
as you may have noticed, she's isolated herself from the crew.
She believes that she made an error in judgment 4 years ago, that she's responsible for stranding Voyager in the Delta Quadrant.
She told you?
No.
Have you ever seen her like this before? Tuvok says, he's seen her like this once before when she was a commander on the USS Billings. And she was incredibly troubled by an away mission that went badly and some people, unfortunately, were lost. And that she then...
Actually, no, the people weren't lost. It was their shuttle was damaged and they got injured.
Oh, pardon me. There were casualties in the form of injuries. And then she went back at huge risk to herself.
Yes.
In order to show that it wasn't in vain. And
which is... a bit weird,
Yeah. I imagine that is the kind of thing that her captain chastised her for, and that might have even have set her career back a little bit. So probably not something that she talks about very often.
Yes.
A bit of a breach of confidence for Tuvok to mention it, but exactly what's needed.
It's probably in her permanent record.
She could have been killed.
Seeking redemption.
Precisely.
That's how she deals with personal crises, takes some sort of action, risking no one but herself in order to seek redemption. And He says,
well, redemption, a bit weird because like it's not by her fault. Like she didn't do anything with the shuttle or cause it to get damaged, and still she feels.
I think the suggestion was that she was like as a commander,
right?
She was responsible for that mission.
Yeah, but I'd call it a character flaw. If you like, you take like if you send someone on a mission and then something happens, and then like but through no fault of yours, nothing you could have foreseen or accounted for. Then,
I mean, such is the way of depression.
Yeah,
right. That's what she's dealing with right now. She is improperly processing this decision that she made, and now both of them are concerned that she may take a similar action. Yeah. And Chakotay asks Tuvok,
if she tries something like that again, I want to be ready, and I'm going to need your support.
Paris interrupts them. We're at the coordinates, and the alien does its thing. He uses the comm system
to
signal his buddies that everything's fine.
Very helpful, this alien, who implores them to help.
Yes.
Your ship is powerful. Your people resourceful. We need your help.
And he gets beamed away.
And then next shot, they have left again, and we see this Madon ship. We see
Malon.
Malon. We see it still floating by, spewing its vile green gases.
Yeah, Emp is on the gigantically curved display in astrometrics.
Yeah, why are they in astrometrics? Why is this not on the bridge?
I don't know. It's cool. Yeah. But they've called him to confront him. Hey, you haven't been fully truthful with us. You're not a transport. You're actually poisoning this environment. And he sort of, what are you going to do?
Who cares? Yeah, I'm going to. I'd shoot you if you do. And there's nobody here except those guys. But we don't care about those guys. It would cut into my profit margin if I did something else. So I'm just going to keep going. And bye.
Yeah.
Toodles.
And it's brutal because they do the Starfleet thing where they offer him a solution. Hey, we have technology that would allow your species to reclaim its massive output of waste, which would be much more efficient.
Which he actually comes in and listens to, and he goes like, wow, I didn't think that was true. I didn't believe it at first, but I guess you're right. And yeah, no thanks.
Because it wouldn't be advantageous for him personally.
Yeah.
This would solve a lot of problems on my world. Unfortunately, it would also put me out of business.
And so I'm going to leave you behind.
Yeah, bye.
Fully expecting to be allowed to leave. Of course, he has a ship with massive firepower, which he does. B'Elanna is livid.
You lying.
B'Elanna.
We went through this whole song and dance, and he never had any intention of working with us.
That's not important.
Because she was so excited to share all this. You don't have these converters, but you have plasma manifolds.
And they're kind of the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, we can even help you on their way. She was so excited to have something to do.
Yeah, and it gets offhandedly dismissed because of greed, I guess. Yeah.
So, what are they going to do? Well,
any chance we could destroy it?
I believe so. But there's a catch. We'll have to collapse it from this end, where its dimensional radius is weakest. We'd be closing our shortcut out of here.
Therefore, setting Janeway up with the same problem that she had in Caretaker.
Yeah.
And Chakotay says, well, not quite. But she says, it's close enough. And I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to sentence people to 2 more years of distress. Chakotay says, hey, we can handle that. But we've seen how they are after 53 days.
Yeah. Rather, let alone 2 years.
Yeah, they might not be able to do that.
So it is very simple. Like, she is back on her bullshit and it's like, assembled crew. The crew is the regulars.
Yes.
None of the rest of the crew.
No.
None of the other people on the ship. Just like,
the ones with main billing. They get to be on the bridge where she tells them,
I'll stay behind in a shuttlecraft and destroy the vortex. Tuvok, I'll need a Class 2 shuttle armed with photon torpedoes.
Oh, you've got spares now, do you?
Yeah. They haven't shot them yet. Yeah, so yes, they would.
Oh, yeah, that's
They
true.
haven't fired all of them yet.
So you're going to be okay on your own. And it's like a reversing parlor scene. Because she's telling everyone how it is.
Yeah.
And everyone there is already fully aware of what's about to happen. They've already discussed it amongst themselves.
Oh, yeah. Like Tom said, of course.
I can't follow that order, ma'am.
Harry.
I'm sorry, Captain.
And everyone in turn. And this is so glorious. And Chief, thank you for recommending this. And also thank you for pointing out what an amazing scene this is, because it's sort of like an intervention.
It is, yes.
the concept that was popularized and like executed in a very sort of dramatic way on television, but it's actually like confronting you with the fact that a lot of people think something different than you do because they also care about you and they think they have a better solution for whatever it is that you're going through.
I will not comply.
And none of them will accept her solution to sacrifice herself.
And she takes it with amazingly good grace.
You realize you could all be hanged for mutiny. Looks like we need another option.
See, what's really fascinating about this is the moment where Janeway is already back.
Yes.
When she's made that decision, she's found this redemption that she wanted for the mistakes that she made, and she's resolved her crisis of command by this sacrifice. B'Elanna says, hey...
Tom, set a course. Forget it. We're not going to let you die out here.
And she says, have a little faith.
Yeah.
But absolutely no one will accept it. And, okay, we're going to have to think of something else. She confronts Chakotay with, you told them.
Yeah, you fucker, yeah.
And he says, well, I wouldn't be a fine first officer if I hadn't.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right.
He is. Yeah, there's some good one-liners here. It's like, what's the hologram to do and all that. And
yeah.
The chance is irrelevant. We will succeed.
And now the strategy is, okay,
battle
then
stations.
We're going to charge into the vortex and close it behind us.
Yep.
Just like you said,
it's
that's the new plan.
It's going to increase the risk. It's going to make it more difficult and less chance of success, but it will allow us to adhere to our principles. And they've, at this point, it's just kind of like un-Star Trek-y, they've just like declared Enk, what was it? Enk, the enemy. And he is like, we're shooting him. Like, firing full spreads of photon torpedoes, full phasers, multiple times.
Yeah.
They've identified a weak place in his cargo hold where it's been degraded by the antimatter, i.e. a little bit exploded.
I don't know.
Like, antimatter eating away is like, whatever.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe
a little bit of E is MC squared, like...
Yeah, but maybe that doesn't go for minus M.
That's not how it works. That's literally exactly not how it works.
You don't know. What's the square of a negative number? No one knows. No one really knows. No, it's not. The square of a negative number is the square of a positive number. No, that's the square root.
Oh, yes.
The second power.
Yes.
I was making a little joke. It's both the same.
Yes.
Sorry. I was eating more dog.
I'm not mathing very good right now.
It's all right.
We get some more fantastic shots of the, what were they called again? Spatial charges.
Yeah. Oh, and Voyager is dodging them expertly because, that's Janeway's solution.
They're firing spatial charges.
Evade them.
And you see Tom Paris go, I guess I'll just do something then.
Yeah, I'll just fly casually.
Yeah.
Green space ring comes into view.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Direct hit, starboard nacelle.
Both engines are offline. We're riding on inertia. One more hit and we're dead in the water.
Hang on, you already got both your nacelles. How is getting hit another time going to stop you? Whatever.
That might take out the external inertial dampeners.
Oh, yes. But literally, you don't want your inertia dampened when you're trying to coast. So you want them offline.
Maybe there's reverse inertial dampeners. Maybe there's...
Yeah, they're called engines.
No, there's inertial dehumidifiers.
Yeah. You put two of them in a room with it.
Okay, I have something wonderful to share with you. Our friends at It's Got Star Trek, a fantastic podcast. Yeah. Do you remember how a few weeks ago I sort of challenged you to, hey, maybe we can come up with ad reads and just ad-lib them, and then it's a huge disaster? They had a much better idea, which was to ask people to send in suggestions for them to advertise Star Trek products from within the sort of...
yeah.
And one of the hosts of another podcast, Open Pike Night, Jesse, sent in a fantastic ad for Damper Dan's Damn Good Dampeners.
Selling the best good dampeners. Yeah.
You're a Damper Dan, man.
Oh, God.
Which was amazing. But instead of... And I sent in a submission as well. But instead of writing ad copy for them, I gave them the challenge, which I hope that they've by now met, which is, it's 2151. And the transporter, the technology is finally rated for organic matter. Mm-hmm. And Beeman Beverly's Bio Beeman Boulevard wants people to buy these as personal transporters because people are using shuttles and it's pointless. Yeah. So the challenge that I set them was, hey, why don't you convince your listeners, especially those who are worried that a transporter doesn't so much transport you as obliterate you and generate a copy of you somewhere else.
Yes.
Sell it to them without implying that's not what it does.
Okay, yes. Sure. That's. I'm looking forward to hearing what they come up with.
Well, Kay, I have some further good news. I thought it was such a good game. I kind of wanted to play it, and they've given us permission to do so.
Okay.
So hopefully listeners at home, I don't know how you're going to send this. Actually, we'll get it updated. Go to joyoftrek.com/links and I'll add another form there where you can send us a suggestion for something
and
that
in about 2 months we'll get it. We'll have caught up with it.
Look, just like our chief engineer, our listeners are behind some temporal vortex.
Very good point.
Anyway, things work out.
The blind aliens come and help shoot at Emk.
Yeah, because he was blocking their entrance. Oh no, we're never going to make it.
Fortunately, they're coming to help. They get shot.
Sacrificing some of their ships.
Ships, yes. They're fighting for the good of their own people, to stop the pollution from happening.
Yep.
We get this cool little surfing through the wormhole scene. There's a little blue phone box booth that zooms past them on the way.
It does look a little bit like the TARDIS vortex. They drop a series of photon torpedoes, but just drop them.
Yes.
Like depth charges
like
behind
mines,
them.
Yeah.
Like mines, yes. Which go off in sequence and creates this...
the forward-pointing main deflector dish is used to reinforce the aft shields.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying anything.
Okay. It sounded like you were.
No.
Kay, unlike the people at home, I can see your face.
Yeah.
I know when you're full of shit. I just wanted to point that out. No, I don't mean anything by it. Just an observation. And I think really brilliantly for the writing of this episode, they emerge on the other side.
And it's still pitch black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They came up short.
We're still 200,000 kilometers from the boundary.
On screen.
About 200,000.
Kilometers, which is like 2/3 of a light second.
Hey, no warp. It'll take you a little while.
The impulse goes fast enough.
Yeah. So everyone's still on the bridge when...
There.
What?
I saw something. A star.
Remind me to check your eyesight.
And then there's another, and then there's another.
Yeah, and then suddenly nebulas and really nice fat stars and thousands of star systems, densely packed region.
This was a photo composite of deep space images from
Hubble.
Hubble.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it, yeah.
Which are mostly like Hubble. Is that a visible light telescope?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that is what they look like.
That is absolutely possible. Hubble is a visible light telescope.
And Harry, ever the optimist, is asked what he sees.
I see a densely packed region with thousands of star systems. Looks pretty lively.
Captain Janeway, back in the saddle, starts this 5th season.
Yep. Full speed ahead.
Wow. We made it.
We did.
Through the doldrums of... Have our episodes been getting longer?
Yes, they absolutely have, Cocky. They've absolutely been getting longer.
The last couple of ones have been clocking in at our average, but there's occasionally one in there which goes way over time.
Well, I think the credit goes to the recommendations that we've received. So thank you to our chief engineer, for whom this episode was near and dear to his heart.
I was going to say, usually the episodes that we go the longest on the ones when nothing happens. But
well, I mean, they were in space with nothing happening.
I know,
I think we
fair.
spent most of the time with that. So, okay, we have our segments.
Yes.
So, who or what did you think was... what's your MVP for this episode?
Hands down, Chakotay.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Oh, he like I said, he's like the perfect. He does his job very well. He does it.
Yeah.
He starts off by like trying to massage Janeway, and then when that doesn't work, he puts his foot down. He plays the first officer card, and when that doesn't work, he goes behind her back and fixes it anyway.
I think you're completely right. Like, he takes care of everyone. He puts his own hang-ups to the side. Like, he did not love talking to Tuvok and confiding in him. And, like, nor did Tuvok love that. But both of them did it for someone that they both deeply care about. And I think that's a really great choice. Mine's probably going to be Mitch Suskind and the special effects, or the visual effects team and Foundation Imaging. Because, like, the designs in this episode of the night alien spacecraft, we never get a name for them, and the spatial charges and Voyager in the dark.
That was right. Yes, that was
phenomenal.
Fantastic shot. Love those shots because it really brings the vastness and the emptiness of that blackness. I mean, space is really big and empty anyway, but it's even bigger and emptier when there's actually nothing around you.
Yeah. Hey, If we were floating around in the intergalactic void,
yes,
what would space look like to us?
Well, it'd be like a very bright, starry night.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we look up in the sky, or imagine that we're on the ISS and we're looking, how many of the pinpoints of light that we see in the firmament of heaven are galaxies?
Oh, quite a few of them.
Like half?
I have no idea.
A lot, right?
Yeah, many, yes.
Well, okay, we've had our budget of tangents.
Oh, yes.
Has been more than spent.
Unconventional move here. I'm going to have a segment in here because for me, my MVP is Janeway. And it's Janeway because I relate to the I'm depressed, I'm miserable, I can't focus on anything. But hey, I have something to do. I have something to do now, and I can focus on that now. And I didn't think about this when I wrote the recommendation. I didn't think about this when I recorded my recommendation. But I think about it now. Even just like having I have something to do to just kind of distract myself and just pull myself out of that is just a good first step to just kind of like breaking some of that depression fog that settles over me sometimes of just, hey, I don't know how to help myself exactly, but I can help others, and I know I can help others in these very specific ways, so I'm gonna help others. And that is a first step for me to get to re-engage with the world around me. I love Janeway here. I love the vulnerability. I love the pain, and I love this episode so much. This is so near and dear to my heart. Back to your retro-scheduled bullshit.
So we have one more obligation, which is to come up with our
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Okay, so
okay, now I'm going to set some ground rules because we talk about like the deleted scenes that we imagine have been filmed. It can't be 53 days of nothing happening on Voyager, can it?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking of Captain Proton versus Commander Neutron fight scene on the holiday.
Okay, and for Commander Neutron, I'm sort of imagining like a joint fat suit that like 8 people have to sort of get in together.
Yes, I mean it's kind of like Jizzmaster Zero, I suppose.
Oh, what?
Oh, come on, you've seen Orgasmo.
Oh, wow, the early Trey Parker and Matt Stone vehicle. Yes, I have. It has been a while.
Yeah.
Where their version of Titany Love Boob says Orgasmo.
Yes. And Jizzmaster Zero is actually played by Ron Jeremy.
Ah, yes.
Who's also not a very good person these days, I believe. I believe there's been a few controversies surrounding him.
Yeah, he's a sexually abusive shithead.
Yeah.
Has been for a very long time, which unfortunately detracts from the fact that he has his own signature rum named Ron de Jeremy.
It's not very good. I've had it. It's not great.
But the name is good.
I know.
That's all we need.
Absolutely. Very good mark from a marketing viewpoint.
Oh.
Okay, what's your deleted scene?
Mine is going to be, I'm not going to say Titany Love Boobs again because I know that her name is Constant Goodheart.
Yes.
Who sort of disappears.
Yes.
And I sort of imagine that...
Like I said, she gets a replay, like Seven gets like her to play her part.
I sort of imagine that she picks up the mobile emitter and goes off on an adventure of her own.
She stays with the eyeless aliens who can't see her.
Oh, whoa! Yeah, that's right! Like, as a photonic being, she becomes a goddess to the night aliens.
Yes.
She lives with them. She introduces them to the value of stenography. Like, teaches them a whole writing system that they never had access to before.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, the good-hearted Queen Constance of the Good Heart.
Yep, I'm down for that.
Okay, well, then we've made it through the night. Appropriately, this is
we have.
This is an evening recording,
which is very unusual for us. Yes,
and we can sure tell.
We have to do a little catch up,
but we have more to look forward to because our chief engineer, as always, has given us some clues for the next episode that he selected for us.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can recognize it based on these quotes to see what we're doing next week. Oh, and by the way, in case I didn't mention it, which I think I have, but in case I didn't, if you want to send in a recommendation for an episode that you'd like us to talk about, one that's lesser loved, but that you love specifically. Not just because it's great, but because you connect with someone or you saw yourself in it or it came in an important part of your life. We really want to hear from you. And you can send that to us at joyoftrek.com/Patreon. And if you want us to help...
No, that's not a Joy of Trek /Patreon. That's for Patreons.
That's Wow, my brain was going there. joyoftracks.com/links, where you can also find our Patreon to help the lights stay on in the dark, dark nights here at Joy of Trek Studios. Gosh, really. Here come the clues. I'm no good at this. My brain's all used up. Clue 1.
Dr. McCoy, you may yet cure the common cold.
Okay, original series?
I guess, yeah.
Or original series?
Or the animated, yes, animated series. Oh, yes, gosh. So tired.
Despite your brains, you're the most contemptible things that ever lived in this universe.
Okay.
Brain and brain. What is brain?
It's the Daleks.
For so long, I wanted to be close to you. Now all I want to do is crawl away and die.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Listen to Chief Engineer Greg.
Yeah.
Like, he's got real sort of drama club energy in this.
Absolutely.
Oh, I want to listen to this one again.
Yeah, go on.
Philosopher kings have no need of titles.
Oh, whoa. Oh, I've sort of got an idea, but I don't know the original series well enough.
The episode is the original series, season 3, episode 10. Plato's Stepchildren.
Plato's Stepchildren. Okay.
Plato's Stepchildren.
I'm going to go into this completely like a blank sheet of canvas.
As am
I have no idea what this is
I'm
about.
glad I didn't say a lot of Troyes because I didn't know what it was talking about.
I am looking forward to it already.
Gangsters of Triskelion. I have a feeling like this is one of the ones that really fits our sort of pattern or our original mission statement of doing ones that are lesser loved, because I think Plato's Stepchildren is quite lesser loved, but I think we'll find that out next time. Thank you for joining us. And
the hell is this?
I'm leaving Star.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by Chief Engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amore. Join us next time for Plato's Stepchildren, the original series, season 3, episode 12. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us your recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.